Welcome to Learner Attraction. In this lesson, you're going to learn what conditional sentences are, and how they are used. There are two types of conditional sentences. 1. Type 1. Real condition. 2. Type 2. Unreal condition. Present time, future time, past time, and mixed time. Type 1. Real condition. Sentences of type 1, real condition, describe a possible situation. Be going to, had better, etc., modals and a great many combinations of tenses, may be used in real conditional sentences. The following are examples of type 1. If I get my work finished in time, I'll leave for Jakarta Monday. If you have finished that exercise, I'll show you how to do the next one. If I have made a mistake, I will try to remedy it. Or, if I made a mistake, I will try to remedy it. If you are right, then I am wrong. If the ground is very dry, don't forget to water those plants. If I said that, I apologize. If you are staying for another night, I'll ask the manager to give you a better room. If you aren't going to eat anymore, I'll ask the waiter to bring the coffee. If you are sick, you'd better go to bed. If he is sick, he ought to be in bed. If you suffer from vertigo, you shouldn't look over the edges of cliffs. If you are in a hurry, you can take my car. If you have done your work, you may go to the movies. If you want to raise efficiency, you must improve your method of working. If we try hard, we can complete the preparations in time. The following sentences express or describe a fact, or something that is always true, or certain to happen. For these sentences, it is possible to use when, instead of, if, and the present simple tense is used in both the if clause, and the main clause. For example, if water is heated to 100 degrees Celsius, it turns to steam, means the same as, when water is heated to 100 degrees Celsius, it turns to steam. If you heat ice, it melts. If ice melts, it becomes water. Should, can be used in the if clause to suggest a rather more remote possibility. For example, if you should meet Jim, tell him I want to see him. If you should see her, ask her to call me. If the train should be late, what will you do? Will, cannot be used in the if clause to refer to the future. For example, I will go shopping if the rain stops. Don't say I will go shopping if the rain will stop. However, will, can be used in the if clause with the meaning of willingness, not futurity. For example, if you will sign this agreement, I will let you have the money at once. If you will be kind enough to wait, I'll have your luggage brought in. If you will kindly wait a moment, I'll ask the manager to speak to you. If we want to be more polite, we can use would, instead of will in the if clause. For example, if you would sign this agreement, I will let you have the money at once. Or, if you would be so kind as to sign this agreement, I will let you have the money at once. If you would kindly wait a moment, I'll ask the manager to speak to you. Pass me the salt if you would. Won't, can be used in the if clause when it means, refuse. For example, if he won't come, we'll ask someone else. When the if clause refers to a result of the action of the main clause, will, can be used. For example, if it will make you happier, I'll stop smoking. Type 2. Unreal condition. Sentences of type 2, unreal condition, describe a situation which is unreal or contrary to fact. Sentences of this kind may refer to present time, future time, or past time. A. Present time and future time. To talk about unreal present and future situations, we use the past simple tense in the if clause and would, should, could, or might, plus the infinitive without to in the main clause. Were is used instead of was, in the if clause in formal English, and in the expression, if I were you. If I got rich, I would travel around the world. If I had a car, things would be fine. If today were a holiday, I would go to the beach. If Henry were here, he would know the answer. If you were in better health, we would let you do the work. If you were quieter, I would like you better. If I were you, I'd say nothing about it. If I dyed my hair blue, my skin would look whiter. If they didn't both work, they couldn't live. If you asked me nicely, I might take you out to lunch. If you took some exercise, you might not be so fat. What would you do if you saw a ghost? The past continuous tense can be used in the if clause. For example, if it weren't raining so hard, I would let you go. Should, plus infinitive without to, and were, plus to infinitive can be used in the if clause to make a future possibility sound less probable. Were, plus to infinitive suggests a rather more remote possibility than should plus infinitive without to. For example, if there should be a flood, what would you do? Of course, if the police should find out, we'd all be in the most terrible trouble. If the enemy should launch an attack on us, we should certainly repulse them. What would you do if war were to break out? If our train were to arrive punctually, we should have time to visit your sister. What would you say if I were to tell you that Mary is going to be married? Would can be used in the if clause to express willingness. For example, I'd be grateful if you would reply as soon as possible. If he would leave his gun outside, we'd all feel a lot safer. I'd be grateful if you would give me a little help. Sentences of type 2a can be used to make polite requests and suggestions. For example, I'd be grateful if you would give me a little help. I'd appreciate it very much if you'd mail these letters for me. It would be nice if you helped me a little with the housework. Would it be alright if I came around at about 8? If you were to move your chair a bit to the right, we could all sit down. If I were you, is used to give advice. For example, if I were you, I would stop smoking. If I were you, I'd sell that car. If I were you, I'd tell her the truth. If I were you, I'd stay away from him. If I were you, I wouldn't accept the job. If I were you, I would continue working until it is done. I wouldn't do that if I were you. I wouldn't worry about it if I were you. B. Past time. To talk about things that did not happen in the past, imagining what would have happened if things had been different, we use the past perfect tense in the if clause, and would, should, could, or might, plus have, plus past participle in the main clause. For example, if I had known you wanted to go, I would have asked you. If we hadn't sent him to the hospital, his disease wouldn't have been cured so quickly. If you hadn't slipped and fallen, you wouldn't have broken your leg. If I had had time, I would have gone on the picnic. If I had lost my key, I wouldn't have been able to lock the door. If his parents hadn't been poor, he could have gone to university. If the illness had been diagnosed a day earlier, it might have made all the difference. If she hadn't been so busy, she might have come. What would you have done last night if you hadn't had to work? If you had known he was a murderer, would you have gone to the police? In sentences of type 2b, the past perfect continuous tense can be used in the if clause. For example, if our transmitter had been working, we could have sent out SOS. If he hadn't been working with all his heart and soul, he wouldn't have made such great achievements. C. Mixed time. For example, if he had taken my advice, he would be a rich man now. If you hadn't told him about it, everything would be all right now. If the weather had been more favorable, the crops would be growing still better. If we hadn't been working hard in the past few years, things wouldn't be going so smoothly. If you hadn't slipped and fallen, you'd be all right now. If you hadn't slipped and fallen, there wouldn't be any broken bones. If you were in better health, we would have allowed you to join them in the work. If I were you, I would have accepted the job. If I were you, I would have told him the truth. If I were you, I wouldn't have sold the car. In conditional sentences, the clauses may be reversed. For example, if he asks me, I will help him, becomes, I will help him if he asks me. If I had enough money, I would pay cash for the car. I would pay cash for the car if I had enough money. If there had been time to get ready, I would have gone on the picnic. I would have gone on the picnic if there had been time to get ready. When the if clause contains one of the auxiliary verbs were, had, or should, it can be replaced by a clause without if by inversion of verb and subject. For example, were John here now, he would explain the whole matter. Means the same as, if John were here now, he would explain the whole matter. Were our train to arrive punctually at 12:45, we should have time to visit your sister. Were they having a meeting in that room, the lights would be on. Were I in his position, I wouldn't behave that way. Had you asked me, I would have told you the answer. Means the same as, if you had asked me, I would have told you the answer. Had I known what was going to happen, I would never have left her alone. Should you change your mind, let us know. Means the same as, if you should change your mind, let us know. Should you see Harry, give him my regards. I will go, should it be necessary. Wish, plus that clause, is used to talk about a situation which is unreal or contrary to fact. Wish, is used with the past simple tense, to talk about present action, and with the past perfect tense, to talk about action in the past. Were, is used instead of was, in the clause after wish, in formal English. For example, I wish that I knew what is happening. That, can be omitted, and therefore, you can just say, I wish I knew what is happening. I wish that she visited us more often. I wish that I were at the seaside. I wish that John were here now. I wish I hadn't lost my wallet. I wish you hadn't told him. She wishes she hadn't said it. I wish I had been at the seaside then. The past continuous tense may be used in the clause after wish. For example, I wish it weren't raining. But it is raining. Would, is used after wish to express willingness, habit, or insistence. For example, I wish you would shut up. I wish she wouldn't sing in the bath. I wish you wouldn't keep parking your car outside my house. I wish she wouldn't keep yelling at me. I wish he wouldn't always try to do everything himself. Would, can also be used after wish to express a not very hopeful wish concerning the future. For example, I wish it would stop raining. I wish the rain would stop. Could, can be used after wish to talk about ability. I wish I could fly a plane. I wish that we could go to the party tonight. I wish that we could have gone to the party last night. Wish can be put into the past simple tense without changing the tenses in the clause. For example, he wished he knew. She wished she had taken my advice. She wished she'd stayed at home. But for means, if it weren't for, or if it hadn't been for. For example, but for his wife's money, he'd never be a director. Means, if it weren't for his wife's money, he'd never be a director. But for the storm, we would have arrived earlier. Means, if it hadn't been for the storm, we would have arrived earlier. But for your help, I would have failed. Means, if it hadn't been for your help, I would have failed. But for the rain, we'd have had a pleasant journey. Means, if it hadn't been for the rain, we'd have had a pleasant journey. But for your help, I really don't know what I'd have done. Means, if it hadn't been for your help, I really don't know what I'd have done. I would have been in real trouble but for your help. Means, I would have been in real trouble if it hadn't been for your help. Now, do this exercise. Directions: for each question, there are 4 choices, and only one of them is correct. Write down the correct answers on a piece of paper. You have 2 minutes to complete this exercise. Check your answers. Question number 1. B. R. If you are in a hurry, you can take my car. Question number 2. D. Would know. If Henry were here, he would know the answer. Question number 3. B. Could speak. I wish I could speak Chinese. Question number 4. C. Were. If I were you, I wouldn't buy the house. Question number 5. A. Had worked. If you had worked harder last year, you would probably have passed your exam. Question number 6. A. Stops. I will go shopping if it stops raining. Question number 7. A. Were I. Were I in his position, I wouldn't behave that way. Question number 8. D. Had been. I wish I had been there at that time. Question number 9. C. Hadn't been. If it hadn't been for the storm, we would have arrived earlier. Question number 10. C. Had known. If I had known you wanted to go, I would have asked you. Well, that's the end of this lesson. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share.